welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. I hope you're all very well. I've just got home from work and I went for an eye test on the way home, so I'm thinking of getting contact lenses. Well, I say I'm thinking of it, it's happening. The trial's on its way. Thank you so much for all of your well wishes about David's dad. You may not have seen the last video, but I sort of took a hiatus because David's dad was very poorly. He still is very poorly. He's still in hospital, but he's doing all right. David, on the other hand, is feeling very poorly all of a sudden. Not quite as poorly as his dad, not hospital bound, but I think it's all caught up with him, guys. So he's currently laying on the sofa over there, but I've got 2 things to show him in this book haul which might excite him. So hopefully books will bring some joy to him today, because they're certainly bringing some joy to me today. And yeah, it's a library book haul, so I've got a few books here from the 2 different libraries that I'm a member of. We're still looking at some books that were on people's best books of the year. I've got some books for the Irish Readathon, which is taking place at the moment. I've got 1 book from the Women's Prize for Fiction. In fact, we'll start with that 1 book from the Women's Prize for Fiction. It's probably going to be the book that I read next. I hadn't read any books from the Women's Prize for Fiction long list, but I had attempted 1 and given it up, but I'm going back to it. So far I've read 2 books. I've read Memphis and I've read Wandering Souls. Enjoyed Wandering Souls very much, enjoyed Memphis very much. Both very harrowing and sad, but enjoyable. But the next book I've got is The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. So I got this out from the library last year and it had a 2-week loan on it, which I never get on with a 2-week loan, because by the time I've got it home and finished what else, I can never start it instantly, and then there's always a panic. So I only got a little bit of a way through it, but I am going to give it another go because it's on the long list. So this will be where I go next. And this is a historical fiction book set in the winter of 1561, and Lucrezia, Duchess of Ferrara, is taken on an unexpected visit to a country villa by her husband Alfonso. As they sit down to dinner in the icy hall, it occurs to Lucrezia that Alfonso has a sinister purpose in bringing her here. He intends to kill her. Lucrezia is 16 years old and has led a sheltered life, locked away inside Florence's grandest palazzo, guarded by her father's soldiers and her mother's ladies-in-waiting. Here in this remote villa, however, she is entirely at the mercy of her increasingly erratic husband. What is Lucrezia to do with this sudden knowledge? What chance does she have against Alfonso, the ruler of a province and a trained soldier? How can she ensure her survival? Well, let me tell you, that sounds much more exciting than the vibes I got from it when I first started reading it. I really don't think I'd read all that much, but this will be the book from the Women's Prize that I'm going to next. I'm also currently listening to Fire Rush on audio, which I'm also enjoying. It's narrated by one of the actors who used to be in Call the Midwife, so I'm really enjoying that. And then I think I'm going to go to Demon Copperhead on audio next. Then 2 non-fiction books. No more Women's Prize for Fiction long list books in here. There are lots of reservations on the library, both libraries, for those books, so I'm sure they'll be appearing in April's library book haul. But I've got 2 non-fiction books here. I've got Black and Blue, One Woman's Story of Police Sin and Prejudice by Palm Sandhu. So this is a non-fiction account of Palm Sandhu, who retired from the Met Police in 2019, and she was the most, when she retired, she was the most senior non-white woman in the capital's police force, and she was also the only non-white woman to have been promoted through the ranks from constable to chief superintendent in the Met's entire history. One woman, one non-white woman. However, Palm's time on the force was checkered throughout with incidents of racial and gender discrimination, and after deciding to make a stand, she found herself facing a spurious charge of gross misconduct. And this is a memoir of her childhood and all that her time like leading up to the police and within the police. I think it's very enjoyable, important. I hope it's enjoyable. And I have very unsettled feelings about the police in this country. I don't know much about the police in other countries, but from what I've seen, it ain't looking good over there either. I don't know what the alternative is, but the policing in this country, nah, it's not working, is it? So yeah, I'm interested in that. I've also got Windwood Family, An Atlas of Love, Loss and Belonging by Alexis Keir. And this is about Alexis returning to St. Vincent in the Caribbean as he's keen to uncover lost memories and rediscover old connections. But he also carries with him the childhood scars of being separated from his parents and put into uncaring hands. Inspired by the embrace of his relatives in the Caribbean, Alexis begins to unravel the stories of others who left St. Vincent, searching through through diary pages and newspaper articles, shipping on hospital records and faded photographs. He uncovers tales of exploitation, endeavour and bravery of those who were to find a home far away from where they were born. Yeah, it sounds amazing, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's that. So then I've got a couple of books for the old Irish Readathon. I've got Irish Readathon. I've got Leonard and Hungry Paul by Ronan Hessian. This I think is supposed to be warm and lovely and charming, and those are all things that I would like at the moment. So yeah, and I've sort of been told not all that much about it, and the reason of the name Hungry Paul apparently is adorable and in here. And yeah, I know a few people that this was their favourite book of last year. I'm very excited about it. It just says it's the story of two friends trying to find their place in the world. It's about those uncelebrated people who have the ability to change the world, not by effort or force, but through their appreciation of all that is special and overlooked in life. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? Then I've also got, this is a big chunky one, because one of the prompts for the Irish Readathon was to read some commercial fiction, and I've got In the Woods by Tana French, which has also been made into a BBC series now. It's a crime thriller about Detective Rob Ryan and his partner Cassie Maddox. And this one, I think I might have seen the first episode of this. Oh, what's happening? Oh, it's my contact lens appointment has been booked. I think I might have seen the first episode of this on the BBC and I didn't follow it. But yeah, it follows three children run into the woods outside Dublin to play, and only one came out and he had no memory of what happened to the other two. And then 20 years later, these two police people are investigating. So yeah, it's the Dublin Murder Squad, I think it's what it's called. The inspiration for the BBC TV series Dublin Murders, but I think the book series is called the Dublin Murder Squad. But yeah, I mean, it's a big old chunky one. I would like to get quite into a like a crime thriller series. Then I've got, now I'm not going to remember whose books these were the favourite of, but I watched a lot of best books of 2022 and got a lot of recommendations for books, and I put lots of reservations on. So the first one I've got is Ingas War by Svenja O'Donnell, and this is the true story of family secrets and survival under Hitler. And this is about Svenja O'Donnell, who knew little of her German family's past, but when she phones her grandmother Inge from the Russian city they fled before the war, Inge suddenly burst into tears. "I have so much to tell you," she says. Beginning in the hidden jazz bars of Hitler's Berlin, Svenja retraces the story of Inge's life from the rise of the Nazis through the post-war years, from a love affair to fleeing from the Red Army with a younger daughter. And finally, Svenja uncovers a horrible truth, a terrible secret hidden for over 60 years. So yeah, it says both a dramatic saga and a reckoning with the difficult legacy of her German identity in the war. This is a remarkable story of a woman caught in the gears of history and how sometimes secrets and silence are necessary to survive. I've also got A Single Thread by Tracy Chevalier. Tracy Chevalier, sort of beloved on BookTube, particularly when I started. I've never read a thing by her. She also wrote The Girl with the Pearl Earring, and this is about Violet, who's 38, and the First World War took everything from her. Her brother, her fiancé, and her future. She is now considered a surplus woman. But Violet is also fiercely independent and determined. Escaping her suffocating mother, she moves to Winchester to start a new life. A change that will require courage, resilience, and acts of a quiet rebellion. And when whispers of another world war surfaces, she must live with a secret that could change everything. Well, that sounds good. There we go. Then I've got this book, which is from well, I've not heard of it. It's The Space Between Us by Doug Johnston, and this is the book, actually, David, it's one of the books from Between the Covers, which is back on BBC Two. It came on last night, so we could watch that in a minute. David's got a bit of a sore throat. And yeah, so that would be nice to watch. But I've read, so one of the books that I've read already this year that I really, really loved, which I got from Between the Covers, is Sometimes People Die, which I really, really, really enjoyed. So I sort of, when I got the list of the 6 books that were on the list of the books that they would be talking about on Between the Covers, I went and reserved all of them. So this is about Lennox, who's a troubled teenager with no family. Ava is 8 months pregnant and fleeing her abusive husband. Heather is a grieving mother and cancer sufferer. They don't know each other, but when a meteor streaks over Edinburgh, all 3 suffer instant catastrophic strokes, only to wake up the following day in hospital, miraculously recovered. When news reaches them of an octopus-like creature washed up on the shore near where the meteor came to Earth, Lennox senses that some extraterrestrial force is at play. With the help of Ava, Heather and journalist Ewan, he rescues the creature they call Sandy and goes on the run. But they aren't the only ones with an interest in the alien. Close behind are Ava's husband, the police and a government unit who wants to capture the creature at all costs. This sounds like a film. And Sandy's arrival may have implications beyond anything anyone could imagine. So yeah. Hello, Minnie! Then I've got this, which I will get round to reading very soon because I think I'm gonna love it, because Jacqueline Wilson used to be one of my favourite authors of all time when I was a child. I used to love Jacqueline Wilson's book, and some of them I could quote verbatim and knew like the illustrations and things like that. I haven't read a Jacqueline Wilson book for such a long time, and I think it would be a lovely treat to delve into one. And this is, well, I think it's the newest one, Baby Love, illustrated by Rachel Dean. When did it come out? 2022. This paperback edition, 2023. So it says, it's a compelling moving story for older readers from the best-selling award-winning Jacqueline Wilson. A teen book, tea. That used to be, when I was going to the library when I was younger, I used to get a book out from the tea section. I used to feel like the most grown-up, sophisticated person ever. In 1960, 14-year-old Laura meets French exchange student Leon. Her life will never be the same again. Things start to change. First her moods, then her body. Laura isn't prepared for what she learns next and doesn't even know how it could have happened. Her family are horrified to discover her secret. Sent away to save them from shame, Laura meets girls like her, whose families have given up on them, and they become a family for each other at the most difficult time in their lives. Will Laura be allowed a say in how her life is going to turn out? Sounds great. The next two are books that I've got for David, if you'd just like to look up.
I can look up.
So the first one is Nick Stone's new book, Chaos Theory.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's following on from anything. I don't think it is. It just says you can't predict who you fall in love with. David loves Nick Stone. What's your favourite book? Jackpot.
Yeah, Jackpot's the best
David
one.
loved Jackpot. But you liked Dear Martin as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Odd One Out we read aloud to one another, and it was so lull because it was like a love triangle about these teenagers that all just wanted to get off of each other all the time, and we were like reading it out aloud to each other and having a proper funny time, like trying to be cool. We're not cool. It says here, David, this is what it says.
I'm listening.
When Shelby moves to a middle-of-nowhere city for her final year of high school, she doesn't plan to make any friends. Andy is at his lowest after a terrible year and needs someone to talk to. When he sends an accidental text to Shelby, she can't help but reach out, recognising something familiar in him. Like stars bound together through gravity, the two form a connection, but the closer they get, the more chaos threatens their universes. A searing novel about grief, mental illness, and finding love among the chaos. Does that sound interesting to you?
Yeah, definitely.
Good, that can go in David's little pile. The next one I've got, which I also really want to read. I'm wondering maybe if I should send this back and get this back when we go on our honeymoon, because I think we both want to read it because it sounds bloody gripping. It's called 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. Holly Jackson, who wrote The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which you enjoyed.
Oh yeah, I like
so
that.
This says 8 hours, 6 friends, 1 sniper, and the vibe is that this book will take you 8 hours to read. So it's written.
Quite old, this book.
No, it's brand new. Brand new, mate.
I feel like I've seen it.
And also, David, it's set in America, and it's set in Florida. Oh no, it's not, sorry. It's set in Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, and ends in Florida. Looks like a road trip. Yeah. So it says Red Kenny is on a road trip for spring break with 5 friends. Red's best friend, her older brother, his perfect girlfriend, a secret crush, and a classmate. When their RV breaks down in the middle of nowhere, they soon realise that this is no accident. They have been trapped by someone out there in the dark, someone who clearly wants one of them dead.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
With 8 hours until dawn, the 6 friends must escape or work out which one of them is the target. Buried secrets will be forced to light, and tensions inside the RV will reach deadly levels. Not all of them will survive the night. It says a road trip turned deadly in this heart-pounding addictive YA thriller. Yeah, so I think we'd probably like that. I also like the fact that it's got, like, not only has it got a map of where they're going, but it's also got a little map of the RV at the beginning as well.
Yeah, cool.
And it starts by saying 10 p.m.
10 p.m.
So yeah, maybe if we don't read that now, that might be one that we take on the honeymoon, because then we can both read it.
Yeah.
Then I've just got a few more that I got out. This one being, again, from, these are mainly from women, not from Women's Prize, from people best books. So this is The It Girl by Ruth Ware. I've read a few books by Ruth Ware. I had a bit of a hit and miss situation with her, because some I've really enjoyed, some I haven't. But I'm told this is very good. So it says, it was Hannah who found April's body 10 years ago. It was Hannah who didn't question what she saw that day. Did her testimony put an innocent man in prison? She needs to know the truth, even if it means questioning her own friends, even if it means putting her own life at risk. Because if the killer wasn't a stranger, could it be someone she knows? I've got really good, actually, which I did think was going to be on the Women's Prize for Fiction long list and wasn't. So, yeah, got this, but no nomination. It says Maggie's marriage has just ended, has ended just 608 days after it started, but she's fine. She's doing really good, actually. Sure, she's alone for the first time in her life, can't afford her rent, and her obscure PhD is going nowhere. But at the age of 29, Maggie is determined to embrace her new status as surprisingly young divorcee. Soon she's taking up sadness hobbies, getting back out there sex-wise and oversharing in a group chat. I like the conversational tone of this blurb. As Maggie throws herself headlong into the chaos of her first year of divorce, she finds herself questioning everything, including why do we still get married? Did I fail before I even got started? And how many 4 AM delivery burgers do I need to eat until I'm happy? Laugh out loud funny, razor sharp and painfully relatable, really good actually, as an irresistible debut novel about the uncertainties of modern love, friendship and happiness from a stunning new voice in fiction, Monica Heisey. Yeah, it sounds great. When am I going to get to read all these bloody great books? And then the last two. This one is, I've never read a book by this author, but I'm a very big fan of her work. It's Ruth Jones, who is the co-creator of Gavin and Stacey, which is one of my favourite TV programmes, also one of David's favourite TV. Your favourite TV programme, David?
No, probably not.
Top 3?
Yeah, top 5.
Top 5.
At least.
Yeah, this is a book by Ruth Jones, One Family, 4 Generations and So Much Left Unsaid. So I put a reservation on this, honestly, I think before Christmas, and I was number like 40 something in the queue, so it's finally arrived, and I think the queue again, so I need to get around to reading this as well, because I won't get it again if I want to read it. So it says Grace is about to turn 90. She doesn't want parties or presents or fuss. I heard about this on the Graham Norton book club, that's why I remember it. She just wants to heal the family rift that's been breaking her heart for decades, but to do that she must find her daughter Alice, the only person who can help put things right. And when she does find her, if she does, she risks betraying her granddaughter Ellen, who is far less forgiving of the past with its hurts and secrets and lies. Meanwhile, Grace's great-granddaughter Becca is oblivious to all these worries, too busy navigating the highs and lows of teenage life and all the keeping secrets of her own. All families have their problems and most of them get them resolved, but Grace's problem is 30 years old and she doesn't have time on her side. So is it too late for her to make peace, or is reconciliation still within reach? I don't know if that sounds like something I would love, if I'm being honest, but hey, she's waited almost 4 months for it. Let's see. And then the last one is a book that appeared on Mercedes Best Books of the Year. I actually got this out from the library before and didn't get around to it. It's White Tears, Brown Scars, How White Feminism Betrays Women of Colour by Ruby Hamad. And it's a non-fiction book about white feminism. So a lot of the feminist fiction and non-fiction, a lot of the feminist non-fiction I've read has been from the white perspective over the years. So I'm looking forward to delving more into how that is dangerous, how that is a dangerous type of feminism. So let's have a look. White tears possess a potency that is rarely acknowledged or commented upon, but they have long been used as a dangerous and insidious tool against people of colour, weaponised in order to invoke sympathy and divert blame. In this explosive book of historical and cultural criticism, journalist Ruby Hamad reveals the ways in which white feminism has been used as a weapon of white supremacy and patriarchy deployed against black and indigenous women and women of colour. Taking us from the slave era through centuries of colonialism and to the modern workplace, White Tears, Brown Scars tells a charged story of white women's active participation in campaigns of oppression. It explores how the division between the innocent white woman and the racialised, sexualised woman of colour was created, demonstrating exactly why these stereotypes are crucial to confront and deconstruct, and offers a long overdue validation of the experiences of women of colour and an urgent call to arms in the need for true intersectionality. With rigour and precision, Hamad builds a powerful argument about the legacy of white superiority that we are socialised within, a reality that we must apprehend in order to fight. Sounds super important. I'm all here for intersectionality. I want it. Let's see how I get on with that. So there we go. I'm not sure. Okay. So yeah, those are the books that I've got from the library so far in March. Let me know if you've been using your library recently, what books you've got your hands on, and I'm going over there to tend to David now, and I'll see you all again soon for another book video. Goodbye!